Good evening and welcome to the regular council meeting for the Municipality of Monroeville, August 14th, 2018. It is approximately 7:07 p.m. If we'd all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mayor Grieslock?
Here.
Mrs. Gatos?
Here.
Mr. Poach?
Here.
Mr. Harvey?
Here.
Mr. Johns?
Here.
Mr. Arsenko?
Here.
Mr. Duncan?
Here.
Mr. Wilson?
Here.
Mr. Little?
Here.
Mr. Ratcher?
Here.
Ms. Rock?
Here.
Mr. Hugus?
Here.
Mr. Sedlak?
Here.
Mr. Weldon?
Here.
Very good. We're going to open up the floor for public comments on proposed agenda items only. Sir, thank you. If you could just state your name for the record, please, and that you're...
Monroeville.
Thank you.
Last week on Thursday evening, I asked Mr. Hugus in front of all you people for the guy who took care of PennDOT for the traffic lights. I would give the phone number. It's an unfortunate thing. I called him twice now. He's never been gentleman enough to call me back. And I was wondering if Mr. Hugus had another phone number, someone I could call over at PennDOT.
Sure.
If you could give me a call tomorrow, I'd appreciate it. Okay, that's one item. It's nice.
Agenda items, Mr.
Well,
Serafina.
Next to our agenda.
Thank you,
but
sir.
I said I was going to bring that up tonight for the phone number, and I
You
did.
followed through.
Okay. I've heard different numbers on the sewage program, okay? And
On the what?
on the sewage,
We don't have sewage.
well, we're going to have it, for the
The MS4.
MS4,
So
okay?
that's stormwater.
Stormwater.
Stormwater, not sewage.
Okay. Have you come down to any kind of a price before you guys vote on it tonight or anything?
What we're voting on this evening, what's on the agenda, is actually to advertise the ordinance. It's not to vote on the ordinance itself, it's to advertise it, and that, therefore, then, after it's advertised, then we can discuss it publicly and answer all these questions at next month's meeting. There will also be a separate meeting specifically for this topic.
Okay, good.
But by no means is the vote that's being taken this evening for this program. It's only to advertise the ordinance, as we do with every other ordinance that we post.
That's all I want to know.
Very good.
Third item has to do with Mr. Little. He mentioned about the street sweeper last Thursday night, and I have a little bit of a problem with that, Mr. Little. You want $285,000 to buy this demo model?
271,000.
Okay, 271, I had 285. Excuse me. Okay, there's only 2 months left that we're actually going to be using it this year. So what are we going to do with it afterwards? I mean, does it have another purpose?
Oh, yeah, it has a tremendous amount of purposes.
What other purpose does this machine have?
I think I could answer that.
I'd appreciate that.
Mr. Duncan?
When I worked for Public Works, we ran that year-round. I mean, in the winter months, after huge snowfalls and you have the ashes and whatever on the street, and we'd sweep them up. The fall, all the fall leaves, rather than, clogging the storm sewers up and such.
It has a winch on the back that actually picks up the grates in the storm sewers, where now we have to actually have a backhoe come to do that for the Public
Well,
Works gentlemen.
It almost acts like a mini vac also.
And, yeah,
because
it will suck
It has a attachment that you can suck the catch basins
And
up
we're actually
such.
saving money
Is
by
this
buying
gonna
the
be-
demo.
As far
Is
as
this
I'm
gonna be part
concerned,
of
it
it?
should be used year-round.
Is this going to be used, I mean, is that one of the reasons we're buying one of those?
Well, I'm
Because of
sure-
the catch basins?
Absolutely.
Yes.
One of the reasons.
I mean,
Yes.
it's a dual type thing?
Yes, sir.
It should be in every neighborhood year-round, as far as I'm concerned.
Because I thought as a street sweeper, there's a company in Irwin that just rents them. And if you have a problem with one
Well,
that's
just
broken,
so you know, Mr. Serafini, we've had one for years. It's just that our current one is no longer
It's
functional.
defunct.
Yes.
but what I'm saying is they have those street sweepers in Irwin that you can rent. And I figure if you rent one, it breaks. Is that what it is?
Well, Mr. Hugus told me they could run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
I just told you that. Isn't that
Yeah.
amazing?
Yeah.
There's an echo in here.
Yeah.
So
So-
you're still going on with it's a multi-purpose type thing, other than just the street sweeper?
That is correct. It's also a vac, too, as far as vacuuming out the catch basins also. It's a multi-use machine.
See, that's what street sweeper, it's just, one item is just,
Well, street
sort of-
sweeping, Bob, street sweeping is very important with respect to leaves in keeping sediment, salt, stones, all those things out of your storm water system, keeping your roads clean. That's very important for the longevity of your stormwater system. And that's been proven through the decades continuously.
And prior to our crews coming through and patching a street, I'd rather have it vacked off, and then we come in and patch it, and all the material's gone, and, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I can understand.
After a big storm event, say your street gets flooded, all the rubble and whatnot
see,
comes
I
to the
think
street.
you would know best,
then
and
we
that's
send that
why I was
machine.
hoping you would answer.
Absolutely, and I did, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Very
you.
good. Now, we veered off the agenda a little bit there, folks, but if we could stick to agenda items only, that's what this time is for. There certainly is another moment to speak at the end of the meeting where we could speak about any agenda item, or I'm sorry, any municipal item. But if, Mr. Wright, if you could state your name for the record, but if we keep to the agenda, that'd be great.
My name's Jay Wright. I live in Monroeville. I've signed in, and I'm talking about the sewers. I'd just like to ask a couple questions. EM4 project?
Stormwater.
Stormwater,
Yeah,
I'm
stormwater.
sorry. I have a question. Why are we doing this now?
We have to.
Pardon me?
We have to.
There's no date on the thing. I have a copy of it,
Of what thing?
of the, I guess you call it regulations.
Wait a minute, do you have a copy of our permit? You don't.
No, the permit is, you apply for the permit later. You do
No,
that.
we've
They
already
don't
done
tell
that.
you to do it.
No, we've already done that. So we only have 4 years left on that permit. So we need.
So you've already done
We're
that?
behind.
Okay, but it's only $500 a year. It's not a ton of money.
It's the purpose of getting started so that we can get the projects underway so that we can keep our people safe.
Well, I agree, Linda. I'd like clean water and clean storm water too.
Like things
We
not
have a lot
flooding
of
and
we have a
roads
lot of
collapsing?
people that live in Monroeville that are on fixed budgets. And I'm not being smart. I mean, you guys have a tough job, and ladies. You really do, all of you. You have decisions you have to make that aren't easy and are hard. My question is, why now? Because these regulations have been in effect for a while.
Well, I'm sorry, Mount Lebanon's had theirs in effect for over 5 years. I mean, we're kind of behind the 8 ball in some areas, so.
Well, I know, I call Mount Lebanon. They've been doing it for almost 6 years. They collect roughly $2 million a year and use $500,000 to do curbs. That's what they've been using the money for, to put curbs in. And they all do,
That's
they
part-
also
that is
clean their
part of it.
catch basins
Yeah,
and stuff.
exactly.
But that's it. But they've been spending about $500,000 because Mr. Harvey mentioned them before, and I called him to find out what was going on.
You could talk to Penn Hills.
Pardon me?
Too.
That's not all of them.
There's a lot, Mr. Harvey.
Well,
I
folks,
know.
if we could get back at it here, we were talking about the agenda, but to your question as far as,
I
once
thought it
again,
was on the agenda.
well, to advertise the ordinance, not the ordinance itself, the specifics, the minutia of the ordinance, that is not on the agenda, is not what we're voting for.
Okay.
We're voting for just to advertise the ordinance. But to
Okay.
answer your question, though, Mr. Hugus, if you could just briefly explain as far as the fines, as far as the timeframes, as far as having the permit, not complying, if you could keep it in a condensed.
There's no set dollar amount for a fine. DEP sets that at the time if there's any violations. To answer Mr. Wright's question, yes, we received the permit. It was enacted April 1st of this year. It's a 5-year permit. The permit expires in 2023. Within that permit, there are set criteria that the municipality has to meet. This is going to be no different from any other community. Everybody has to apply and receive an NPDES permits. We just happen to have ours already. A lot of them haven't received theirs. Probably only 50% of the communities in the southwest Pennsylvania area received them. In that permit, it is very distinct of what you have to do.
I
I
agree
would
with
encourage you to read the permit. It's 25 pages.
Oh, I agree with you. There's actually some more regulations too. But my point is, we applied for the permit. They didn't send it to us or tell us to do it. You can apply for it because it's almost a voluntary program. Am I correct, Mr. Little?
Absolutely not. It's a mandatory.
not.
The reason why it's called
Every-
MS4 is this is level 4 of the things that communities had to do.
Okay.
There's a local community that already got fined, I think, around $40,000,
That was out near the Philadelphia.
yeah, for not complying by
There
these
was a,
steps.
there was a required date that the communities had to submit your application to the DEP.
What was the date?
I don't have that off the top. We submitted ours in the fall of last year, is when we submitted our application to the DEP. And we received it on March 5th of this year.
Paul, is it similar to the demands that are coming down on the sanitary source?
Very similar. What the DEP is looking for here, Steve, is in the sanitary sewer world, you had stormwater infiltrating the sanitary sewers, which are overflowing, the sanitary pipes, and ultimately the treatment plants. Here, the DEP is more concentrating on the sediment loadings and the sediment getting into the system. And
So the
they
infiltration.
want you to get.
They want to eliminate the
Oh, yeah, they
stormwater
want-
out of
they-
the sanitary sources.
They want you to eliminate the sediments that's in the stormwater. And it's a very costly projects to do that. The bigger the municipality, the more cost there is associated with it. So the DEP is actually giving you a dollar figure. You have to figure out how much sediment comes from your community. Based on that sediment, they tell you it costs you X amount of dollars per pound. Our initial calculations, which is in our pollution reduction plan, it was part of our application, it was going to cost Monroeville $7.5 million a year.
But we're only collecting around $3 million a year, I believe.
It's a little bit more than that. And there's reasons for that, and I don't want to get into it tonight.
Okay.
But that's what the DEP is concentrating on. Monroeville's in a good position, to be quite honest with you, because there's communities that have basically a sea of streets and rooftops. They have no lands to do these improvements on. We do. We own a lot of lands. We have a lot of stormwater detention basins we own and maintain. We have park lands that we could do this in. So there's places for us to do these, but they're not cheap to do, and we're required to do them. We're required to do it by 2023. At the end of our 5-year permit, we're required to prove to the DEP we have done our 10% sediment reduction of our municipality.
There'll be
Okay.
more explanation given at September 6th meeting,
Okay, I'll be there.
so there'll be slide presentation, so please attend. Then you can ask more questions.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's not being voted on. That
Yeah,
was
so
kind of,
just so you,
I'm
just to
okay.
clarify.
yeah.
I have another question. Why are we not using our tax collector to collect the money for the fees?
Well, that has not been voted on this evening, but the
That's
two.
what I'm asking. It's on
It is,
tonight's
but
agenda.
the two proposals we received was from the tax office and from the Turtle Creek Valley COG. And I believe everyone has it in front of them. But the tax office was more expensive than the COG's proposal. And also the tax office had the addition of an
Not a
employee.
tax.
And I think it's something to factor in, but at this point, that is for council to decide how they're going to vote here in the next several minutes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess when you have your next meeting, I'll talk about expenses and stuff.
The dates for the special meetings is the ones you want to be at.
Okay.
Because not only is the PowerPoint going to answer a lot of your questions, but the engineers are going to be here too.
Well, I've seen the PowerPoint. That's why I have questions on it and stuff. Because
Yeah, they'll be
we're spending 1.7 million in labor after 5 years. That's a lot of labor.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is, Mr. Harvey.
It's a
You're
big-
right.
it's a
But
big
it's a lot
town.
of labor.
You have
Yes.
32 detention ponds alone to take care of.
Okay. Thank you very much for listening to me. You have a good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. I'll leave the floor open for comment on proposed agenda items. Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of the meeting. I have an executive session announcement. Council conducted an executive session for personnel and litigation reasons prior to Citizens Night on Thursday, August 9th, 2018, between 6:30 p.m. until 7 p.m., and also before tonight's council meeting, beginning at 6:30 p.m. until 7 p.m. Council legislative action, if any, shall be taken at tonight's August 14th meeting. Moving over, we have an acknowledgement. We have Ernie Groover from the Monroeville Foundation Groover, Ernie Groover, welcome. And Kanu Sani, Director of Community Affairs, Allegheny Health Network, Highmark Health, for the Forbes Hospital 40th anniversary and Monroeville Foundation Community Day. Thank you. And I'll just lead off by saying I was in attendance. It was a wonderful event, really well attended. The community was very lucky to have such an event, and we commend you for doing that. And I'm sorry I didn't.
It's okay, Krista Bragg,
Hi,
Chief
Krista.
Operating Officer.
Yes,
of Forbes,
hello.
yeah.
Sorry, I would have put you on the agenda.
That's
I
okay.
didn't know you were coming,
That's okay.
Krista. Okay.
I wanted to be here just to
All
thank
right.
everybody, so.
So we'll get started by saying thank you, thank you, thank you. As Nick said, it was a perfect day in reference to weather. We couldn't have dialed up better weather than what we had that day. And I know a lot of you were able to make it there. We had approximately 2,200 people attend. Activities for all the kids. We started the day off with a 5K walk and race. Approximately 130 people participated. We thought that was fantastic for our first time out. There was even a lady there who was 98 years old. She was in a wheelchair, but she participated. We thought that was fantastic. We had the Gateway cheerleaders. We had some Oriental dancers who were there. There was a foam party where the kids participate. Oh, there it is up on the screen.
Great timing, Joe.
That was Forbes Hospital, Allegheny Health Network brought in their helicopter. I mean, it was just a great day overall. We had a lot of vendors who participated. All the feedback that we've received has said that everyone really enjoyed the day. We've targeted next year, same day, July 27th, for the event. Look for your support again. We really, really appreciate it. Hopefully, it'll be even bigger and better next time.
Very good, thank you.
I just want to add to that, thanking Mr. Little in particular. If you wanted to describe the perfect collaboration, it was with Monroeville Council, the foundation, and Forbes Hospital. It was a wonderful event, and the team building and the relationship building throughout was just phenomenal. So thank you very much.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Had a lot of hard work, but it was a great time.
It was a great time.
It was a good time.
We thank the council for wonderful weather on that day. This is fantastic. We couldn't have asked. So as a long-term Monroeville resident, I'm so proud and so grateful for the partnership we had. And, the event just brought people there, multi-generational. We were so keen to be part of an event that was going to become a tradition here, where we were looking at it being inclusive and not just having certain demographics, but everyone come. And I think we really enjoyed it. I have a few words to describe it, if I can share.
Please.
Fun, family, festive, fitness, food, friendship, foundation, Forbes at 40, and foam. I think that captures it.
Yeah,
And
really.
we're very grateful for your partnership. Really thank you, and looking forward to being here in front of you later on in the year, talking about the next event.
Great.
Very good.
We
Thank
look
you so
forward to
much.
it.
Yeah,
Thank you so
Krista,
much.
Ernie,
Thank you.
And also a big thanks to, there's numerous volunteers, vendors that came out, other members of the Monroeville Foundation. A lot of hard work by a lot of people was put into this program, into this event, and it was very successful, and thanks again. Council, we're going to move over to our approval of our minutes. In front of you this evening, we have our Citizens Night meeting of July 5th, 2018, our council work session of July 5th, 2018, and our regular council meeting of July 10th, 2018. I'd like to seek a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any additions or comments, council? Seeing none, roll call, Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Arasinko?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Moving over to approval of our reports of the tax collections. Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? Roll call, Sharon.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Arasinko?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
The ayes have it. List of bills and budget transfers. Council, is there a motion on the floor?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any additions?
Just a comment.
Yes, Mr. Harvey.
If anybody saw the list of bills and went over them, including the residents, on page 19, there was an outlay for $20,741.05 to Mary DiMatteo, and it says bond release fire escrow, and if I needed it explained, I thought maybe Tim should explain it to.
Well, what that is, Mr. Harvey called me up, and what it is, we have, this was a fatal fire that occurred over at Greenleaf Drive and Garden City Drive. And if you have a structure that is on fire, and whether it's uninhabitable or inhabitable, if it's not habitable, then it sits there for maybe months and nothing happens. What we have under our ordinance is you have to put a bond up or an escrow account in order for it to be fixed, so kids don't get into it. Our Public Works Department can go over and board it up until such time as the owner, if they sell it, the insurance company, it gets fixed up. And this occurred almost a year ago, so this is the escrow that's being released for that home over there.
Because they repaired it or did what they said they were going to do.
Exactly.
Other than that, that's all.
Okay. Anything else, council?
No, sir.
Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Arasinko?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
The ayes have it. And our payroll report.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any comments? Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Arasinko?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Moving over to our vacancies on boards, commissions, and authorities. Mr. Wilson?
Nothing, thank
Start
you.
with you. Mr. Duncan, anything this evening?
I don't believe so, but there is an opening on my Sixth Ward Library Board, and I believe Mr. Poach may have somebody that's interested, Dr.
McDaniel.
McDaniel. And I have no objection to that whatsoever. I mean, I haven't, none of the residents in the Sixth Ward, you know, I've put it out there quite a few times, and nobody's come forward, so I have no problem with that whatsoever.
That seat's been vacant for a while.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you want to do that?
Would you like to do that now? We can.
I mean,
You go ahead, Steve.
I'll nominate Mr. McDaniel.
And I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second for Dr. McDaniel for the for the at-large position for the library board. This is for a nomination. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Anything else, Mr. Duncan?
That's all I have.
Mr. Arasinko?
I have none, but again, like Steve, I still have an opening on the Park and Rec Board for the Fifth Ward. So once again, please, Fifth Ward residents, please, somebody apply for it, send their application or their letter of interest to Mr. Little, and we'll get you appointed as soon as possible. That's all I have, sir.
Very good. And yes, for the Parks and Recreation Board, there's also a vacancy in Ward 1 as well. So 1 and 5, we're looking for residents to participate. Mr. Johns?
Nothing, sir.
Mr. Harvey?
Nothing.
Mr. Poach, you?
Nothing else.
Anything else? Okay.
No, thank you.
Mrs. Gatos?
No, sir, thank you.
Very good. Moving over to our bids and proposals, we have 2 for this evening. And once again, as I mentioned before, we spoke about all of these items at length on our Thursday meeting, our council work session last Thursday. So, Mr. Little, these bids and proposals, please.
Okay, the first one, the surplus equipment bids. We do not need a motion on it, but council, just to get it into the minutes, we talked about this, as the mayor said on Thursday at the council meeting here. We will receive $8,995 for the surplus equipment vehicles that we sold on auction. It's already been done, but council does have to know about this at the council meeting. So there really doesn't have to be a motion. Secondly, there does have to be a motion on. The second one is the Northern Pike and West Patty Lane traffic signal bid. I'm recommending the council to somebody make a motion to award that bid to Traffic Systems and Services of Crafton, Pennsylvania for $183,656.70.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments, council? And I would just like to add, I believe I asked Mr. Hugus, we have utilized this company in the municipality before.
Yes, sir.
This is grant money, Paul?
It is. It's a We have to pay 21%, and the state pays the remainder. It's in the, it's already been budgeted. We may or may not have to carry that money over to 2019, but it's in the budget for this year.
Very good. Anything else, Mr. Harvey?
No.
Council? Seeing none, roll call, Sharon, please. We have a motion to approve.
Yes. Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Ursinko?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Moving over to our new business. On our consent agenda, we have three items. We will do them individually for AR Building Company. Mr. Little.
Okay, the first one is AR Building Company. Applicant requests conditional use approval pursuant to Section 401 of the Monroeville zoning ordinance 1443 to permit cut and fill operations of approximately 24,000 cubic yards of earth for site preparation and construction of 92-unit apartment building and related site amenities. The property is located along Evergreen Drive near its intersection with Old William Penn Highway in the R5 multifamily residential use zoning district. Planning Commission has recommended approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any comments, council?
Are we limiting the time that they can work? We talked about limiting that, the hours.
Changes has been made in your resolutions.
Okay, that's all we needed. That's all I need to know.
Yeah, and that was to make it less time for them.
Correct.
Earth moving. Another comment, yes, all the earth moving is staying on site, so there won't be any truck traffic to and fro from the site. Everything is done on site. That was one of the questions we had.
Yeah.
So, anything else, council?
Don't you think publicly we should say, or are we going to do that later on the times? The actual times itself.
The times that are,
They're permitted to work from 7 in the morning.
Already have that, 7 to 7.
Well, I think we need
Is
to
it in
say
the,
that, put it
It's
in
in
the
the
record.
resolution, I'm looking.
Don't we have it written?
it'll be in the resolution, we'll find it in a second.
It's in the resolution. It's 7 to 7.
7 to 7.
Thank you.
It's 7 to 7.
7 to 7.
No
Thank
work
you.
on Sundays.
There you
7
go.
to 7, no work on Sundays. And that is what is,
It's in the resolution.
it's in the resolution that you are voting on in front of you, council. Anything else, council?
No, sir.
So we have a motion and a second to approve. Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Ursinko?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Second item, Mr. Little.
Okay, AR Building Company, again, applicant is requesting site plan approval to construct a 92-unit multi-level apartment building and associated site amenities. The property is located along Evergreen Drive near its intersection with Old William Penn Highway in the R5 multifamily residential zoning district, and the Planning Commission has approved.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Question.
Question, Mr. Harvey.
I just wanted to make sure, all the way back when we initially talked about this, that there was going to be a no right turn out of the property to go up Evergreen Drive.
It's in the resolution.
Okay. I was just confirming.
Anything else, council?
Nope.
You want to expand on the elevator?
But,
No.
Okay.
I'll let Eric do that.
Well,
Yeah.
question's answered. I guess that was a further question we had inquired.
So the applicant supplied the information concerning the elevator. It meets the criteria of the building code. Did some research on the size of the cots that the EMS uses. The bariatric cots, I believe, are 81 inches in length. The building code requires the elevators accommodate a maximum stretcher size of 84 inches by 24 inches,
Perfect.
which is what their specs for their elevators says.
Very good. And that was a
Okay.
good question on Thursday to make sure that it's a public safety issue, so
Yeah,
excellent
you.
job.
good to know.
Much appreciated.
So we have a motion and a second to approve. Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Ursinko?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Third item, same company, please, Mr. Little.
Yeah, AR Building applicants requesting preliminary and final subdivision approval, tax parcel 724P236 and 742P216. Applicant proposes to consolidate the existing two lots into one lot that will be used for residential apartments on a total of 4.63 acres. Property is located on Evergreen Drive near Old William Penn Highway in the R5 multifamily use residential district, and Planning Commission has approved.
So moved to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any other comments? Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Arsenko?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
The ayes have it.
Good luck, gentlemen.
Good luck with your project.
Thank you, good luck.
You're very welcome. Next item, Gateway Engineers Incorporated, Mr. Little.
Okay, applicant is requesting preliminary and final subdivision approval, tax parcel 639F75, 640B37, and 640B375. Applicant proposes to subdivide the existing 3 lots in order to reconfigure the lot lines and dedicate the road right-of-way to Allegheny County. No additional lots are being created. The property is located at the intersections of James Street and James North Street in the R2 one-family zoning districts. Planning Commission recommends approval.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. One comment I would make, this is actually at the intersection of James Street. James Street North is actually the back entrance to the mall, so it's at the top of the hill there. Mr. Ratcher, you have a comment?
Yeah, I do have one comment. This is listed as being Gateway Engineers, and that's because the engineers most likely made the application, but the party in interest here is CBL Monroeville Partner LP, who I believe is in control of the mall. So I just wanted everybody to know that. They are the real party in interest here in the application.
So is council voting on CBL?
Well, CBL's the owner of the property,
Okay.
so it affects their property, but I think it helps to explain who is doing what up there. It's the same people that control the property around it, so.
Very good. But you feel the paperwork's in order, though?
Oh, yeah, that's, the way it was applied for is fine. There's no problem there, yeah.
Very good. We have a motion and a second to approve. Any other comments, council? Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Arsenko?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Mr. Little, we have the next 3 items of the same company.
Next 5
Aye.
items. Next 5 items
Like
are
I said, the next 5 items are
Extenet Systems Incorporated, and we discussed these on Thursday with respect to somewhat, not antennas, but on telephone poles, a little bit of a protrusion on a telephone pole for more bandwidth, if I'm not mistaken. The first one is applicant is requesting conditional use approval pursuant to ordinance number 2635, section 40155B1A of the Monroeville zoning ordinance, as amended to replace an existing utility pole and install an antenna equipment on the new utility pole. The pole is located at 4317 Northern Pike and identified as pole number DLC 132282VZ 50904 in the C2 Business Commercial Zoning District. Planning Commission has recommended approval.
Motion.
It's a Duquesne light pole that's
Hey,
already there,
Mr.
correct?
One moment. We have a motion and a second to approve. Mr. Harvey, go
It's a
ahead.
Duquesne light pole that's already exists, correct?
Yes, but they're
Yes.
improving on.
Can I ask a question? Just
One moment here, Mr. Johns, if you don't mind. They're replacing a current pole.
current pole.
If you would like to come to the microphone. Of course. And we did have a public hearing on all these items on at Thursday's meeting. We did speak.
Why are we discussing that?
We did speak to this at length, so the question was,
We are replacing an existing pole with a new, taller pole.
State your name for the record.
Well, my name's Caitlin McKinley. I work with NBNC and I represent Extenet.
Caitlin, isn't that true for 4 of the 5 poles, and then the other pole is going to be a decorative pole?
That's exactly correct.
Okay, just so that everybody understands that we went through this
still get this place.
Thursday.
Yes, they're all relatively identical.
They're existing, just going to replace with new. Thank you.
No problem.
Mr. Johns, do you have anything else?
No.
Okay.
So there is a motion and a second to approve. That's 18-5-C, the first one. Any other comments, council?
My question was, now I'll ask it,
Please.
is if we're approving that, aren't all of these the same with just different poll numbers at locations? Do we have to read each and every one of these? Or can
Well, I was going to truncate it a little. I was
Okay,
going to
that's
shorten
all.
it
That was
up there,
my-
just at least get the addresses into the record.
Exactly, but one is different, and that is
that was my only question.
correct.
Well, for these purposes, though, it's really not any different.
So you're going to read.
And the
address.
application will reflect the difference.
Exactly.
So as long as you approve these numbers at the locations, you're good.
Is council okay with that?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
So, but we will go them individually by the actual numbers themselves. So what, we have a motion and a second to approve
18.
18.5.
18-5-C.
Yeah.
Right.
Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Arsenko?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Mr. Little, the 18-6-C, if you just,
Okay, yeah, seeking a motion for 18-6-C Extenet Net Systems for, okay,
the address, 2727 Moss-Side Boulevard.
2727 Moss Side
Second.
Boulevard.
Motion and second. Comments? Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Arsenko?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Okay, need a motion for Extenet System Application 18-7C at William Penn Highway and McMaster's Drive.
Motion.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Comments?
The new poll.
Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Arsenko?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
The ayes
Okay,
have it.
okay, the next one, we need a app for Extenet System Application 18-8-C for the existing light pole located at 4145 William Penn Highway in the C2 Business
So moved.
Commercial District.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Comments? Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Arsenko?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Okay, and the last one,
We have one more.
last one is for Extenet Systems Application 18-9C for the pole at William Penn, 4099 William Penn Highway.
Motion.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve. Comments? Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Arsenko?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Good luck with your project.
Thank you guys so much. Have a nice
Good luck.
Thank you. Moving over to our motions, Mr. Little.
Okay, the first one is a motion to authorize to advertise the pollution control and flood reduction fee ordinance.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and just to clarify, this is only to advertise the ordinance. We have a motion and a second to approve. Any comments? Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Arsenko?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Okay, number two, looking for a motion for one of two engineering firms that submitted RFPs, either MS Consultants or HRG, to appoint the pollution control and flood reduction engineering firm.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint MS Consultants.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve MS Consultants. Any comments, council? Seeing none, roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Arsenko?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Okay, number three is a motion to appoint the billing entity, one of two, either the Turtle Creek Valley COG or the Monroeville Tax Office, to appoint the pollution control and flood reduction billing entity.
Can I comment on this, or?
Not-
We'd have to get a
make
motion and a second
on-
first, and then we could have comment period on either entity.
Motion to give the billing to the COG.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve for the Turtle Creek Valley COG. Mr. Duncan, you had a comment or a question?
Yeah, I'd like to request for transparency reasons. You know, there was a lot of he said, she said, and from what I understand from our tax collector that, I mean, in equalness, if we could table this and give both entities the same material and allow them to resubmit, you know, at the same time, and that way
We don't really have time.
there would be no discrepancy. What's the big hurry?
Well, to that point, though, what was provided to
$8,000
the,
difference.
what was provided to the COG and the tax office? Were they both proposed or approached the same way?
What is on the comparison that council received on Thursday are the items that were talked about, that was talked about with the tax office, those subjects. And
It was my impression that one entity was given the information in January, and one was just
May I-
recently given the information.
Mayor, may I quickly brief that?
Yeah, Mr. Harvey, please.
When the MS4 committee started, we sat down, as you can imagine, with a whole list of things that we needed to find out some basic answers to. And one of them was, wonder what it would cost us to do the billing for this project. So we asked Mr. Little to go to the tax office and find out if they could get an approximation on how much that would be, because, again, this was all the way back at the end of January, beginning of February. And they provided a rough price to that to Mr. Little, who came to the next couple meetings and provided that to us. We were just getting the basics together, and we were trying to find out what equipment might cost, what manpower might cost, the whole list and gamut of things. We weren't in any fashion appointing anything yet. Sometime after that, the tax collector advised us that he wasn't interested in having it. So we said, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Who are we going to get? And sometime later, the meeting, it was presented to us that the COG might be interested in doing it for us. So again, we sent Mr. Little off, and the COG said they would be interested, but it depended on the conditions. Fair question. Also, at some point, the tax office re-engaged and said that they would be interested. So we asked Mr. Little to set up a set of specs, if you will, of what we wanted each of them to do, or the billing.
Yeah, that's what I wasn't sure of. Did everybody get the exact same
Everybody
specs
got the same
at the
thing.
same time? Or not a year later, or one before?
Nah, this
the
was
other?
like 6 months later.
Because then you kind of let the cat out of the bag. One comes up with a price, and then the other one just.
Well, no, but they didn't bid on the same stuff that we now had some specific.
That's what I'm saying. So there was some disparity there, discrepancy or.
Well, no, the first price was an approximate on what it would take to do it. The second one, we said, how much for this, how much for that, how much for software, how much for manpower, how much for, and it wasn't a set of specs, it was kind of a set of guidelines. So the second prices came in, and you have them here somewhere, I do.
Yeah.
And the COG was less, and for reasons, other reasons discussed by the committee, we liked the COG's price and the COG doing it, so our recommendation to council was to have the COG do the billing.
So for Mr. Duncan's question, though, the COG wasn't given the tax office's proposal, nor was the tax office given the COG's proposal to
No.
compare.
No,
No.
no.
As a matter of fact,
That's what you were asking, correct?
I guess that's what I was asking.
Did either group
Was it all
have an
equal? 'Cause
advantage?
it was my understanding
No.
at Thursday's meeting that,
We,
well,
may I
Pat's here to
speak?
Well,
speak on
wait a
that.
May I
second.
speak?
No, hold on a second, Mr. Duncan. We discussed all of this in a meeting when we presented the entire program to all of council.
I agree with you
And
100%.
you never said a
ma'am.
word.
I did not say a word.
Well, this is the
But
vote.
now
Now's the
there's
time-
been
now's the
things that
time
have
for
come up
discussion.
since that
May I
meeting.
say one
Yeah.
word?
Since
Folks,
that
if we-
meeting, nothing has changed.
May I
His-
say,
Mr. Fulkerson, our tax collector, has approached me and told me that,
Well, he's never approached me.
well, I'm sorry for that.
How about this, real
Well,
quickly,
don't be.
Mr. Fulkerson, you could
I
have the
have-
floor
I-
for a moment.
for a moment, I have 3 comments, if I
Go
can.
ahead.
First of all, I never said I would never have done it, because I put a request in November that we wanted it.
Okay.
So I never said we didn't want it. Second of all, I want to apologize to Mr. Little, because we talked over the last 2 days, and he brought up that we did have a meeting in January. I said I didn't remember it, and I apologized to him, because I would rather deal with the truth than anything else. And I don't think it was fair the way it went down. But whatever happens, happens. I am not going to be here calling people's names. I'm not going to be here trying to lower COG from us. I think we are worthy to take this collection. But if you guys have something else that you think for $8,000 that you should take COG and not the tax department, that's your business. But I will work with you no matter what happens, because I'm not a bitter person, and I'd rather have peace in this organization than anything else. So
Mr.
So be
Fulkerson,
it.
thank
And
you
I
for
would
your-
rather,
thank
and
you.
after your vote, I will shake each one of your hands because I don't want it to be a negative thing.
Thank you.
Even though you
Thank
have
you.
to realize, I brought my voice up because I was disturbed, and I usually happens. I'm not the best public speaker, and when I get
You're passionate about your department.
I am very passionate. They do a fine job for the community.
And no one's
I thank
contesting
you.
that
I
whatsoever.
didn't say
Yeah,
that.
exactly. But we appreciate your comments.
No, I didn't say anything. I didn't bring up names. I didn't bring up anything. But I didn't think we got a fair shake, and we always wanted.
So,
Thanks.
so back to my understanding, Pat,
Like the accusation.
if you would.
No.
So you feel everything was done. I need to know how to vote on this. I mean, I have nothing against the COG, nothing
No,
whatsoever.
COG does a fine job.
I just want it to be transparent and fair to the taxpayers.
We did not get a fair shake
And my
at this.
personal
Why- how
opinion-
did you not get a
my
fair
pers-
shake?
One second. I'm
How did
still
you not get a
speaking.
fair
One
shake?
second.
Mr. Wilson, just let Mr. Duncan finish his thought, then we'll go to you if you don't.
My personal opinion is, we have a tax office and a collection agency here. Why would we outsource a collection when people come in to pay their school taxes, they come in to pay all their other taxes or whatnot? And
Because this isn't a tax.
That's right,
Okay.
it's
This is a
It's
fee.
it's a fee. But we,
And therefore, it
but
could
do
be
do you
perceived as a
collect
tax.
other- Okay, let me finish. Do you collect other fees?
Yes, we do.
Okay,
We
so
we collect a lot of fees.
it's my same opinion there. You know, I'm just sorry. I have nothing against the COG. I
Nothing.
think they're
No,
a
no,
great
nobody's
entity.
saying-
We're not here to fight against the COG, against the tax department.
I'd like to know how he feels he was shortchanged.
I was for, do you want me to ask?
If you would like to
No, I have
answer
no
that.
problem. When we brought this out, they asked us in November, and what we finally give to Mr. Little an estimate of what he thought it was only an estimate, because we didn't know. Mr. Little brought out details in a meeting in January, and we did not know, is it going to be one building? Is it going to be two buildings? Is it going to be a discount? You had so many different things out there. Mr. Little told us that he thought this was the way it was going to go down. He wasn't sure of it, but he was, and that's why when he said last Thursday when I was talking, I said to him, I didn't think we had a meeting. And he proved otherwise, that we did have a meeting, and we did go over certain things in that meeting. So I wanted to say that to the public, because I didn't want any misunderstanding. Mr. Little does a fine job, and I wasn't downgrading him and saying he wasn't doing his job.
We understand.
I understand.
But where was the discrepancy, Pat?
It becomes in January. We already sent one out, and all of a sudden, come April or May, we find out we thought we were the lowest bid at that period of time, when Mr. Little happened to tell us at that period of time. And then,
When did the COG submit their?
and then they find out, come May, we weren't the lowest. And I'm going, what happened? We didn't get any detail. We didn't get any new information. Their group asked us, because in our first proposal, we put a full-time employee there. They said, we do not want you to have a full-time employee. So
what I'm saying, you could put a part-time employee to do this?
You don't
but
need
that's what
another
No,
employee.
but that's what we did for them. See, we were the lowest bid at that period of time, and they said, you can't have the full-time. I said, all right, we'll go part-time. And all of a sudden, we find out we're not even in the running.
Well, sir, Mr. Fulkerson,
I know,
you're on-
I'm done.
Exactly.
I'm sorry.
No,
I am sorry. I
You
don't
don't need to be
want,
sorry, absolutely, but we'll get the
Yeah,
meeting
you'll-
going here.
I'm sorry.
But there is, in front of you, council, there is a spreadsheet of what were the final numbers from both entities.
Right. But where I'm confused is, Mr. Fulkerson is saying he didn't have the correct information when he made his bid early in January. Is that correct?
No,
That's what
just
I'm
to
understanding.
just to digress a little bit, when I met with Pat and Liz, what you have in front of you, what the criteria is actually what the criteria which was developed from that meeting. It was Liz and Pat and I talking, for instance. Obviously, they're not, they're aware, but not what degree. For instance, the first thing about upkeeping the deed data that has to come out of Paul Hugis's office. Questions like paying by ACH or credit card, walk-ins. There's a lot of minor details that have to be worked out with this whole project. And this criteria that you see in the left-hand column, which I've named a few, mailings, usually a mailing costs about $6,000 with respect to postage. And one of the items that Mr. Fulkerson did bring up in that meeting was a full-time person that was needed. And I'm not going to say who was high, who was low, or anything at that point, going back 7, 8 months ago. But we talked about it at the MS4 meeting, and I come back and I talked with them, and it was put down to a part-time. Now, the same criteria, not verbatim, and I met with Amanda Settlemeyer because they expressed an interest of putting in a proposal.
Excuse me, Tim, when did they express the interest?
Well, same time, January sometime.
Okay, so it's
somewhere.
pretty much
And
the same time.
I sat with Amanda, and obviously, she knew nothing about, in fact, at that time, the tax office had not even put in their proposal, and I went through the same thought process with her. Now, Amanda, just like the tax office, is well-versed in this sort of thing because they do billing for different municipalities, for garbage collection and things of that nature in the COG, of the 19 municipalities in the COG. So she was very acquainted with the different items here, with respect to, as I said, whether people can pay through credit card or they can pay through a debit card, who's going to handle the telephone calls, different things like that, which are particular to each municipality. Some municipalities that the COG handles, they can handle the telephone calls themselves, and the COG, they don't get any. But when it comes to billing, the people, if they have a question about the billing itself, they're going to call where they got the billing from. But if there's a technical question, that's going to come from me, that's going to come from Mr. Hugas. One of the other items was the one-time software cost in order to upgrade each entity's software. Those basically, that in an employee or an additional employee, which the COG did not need, those basically were the two items that varied the two proposals. All right, so they were put together and they were given to the to the MS4 committee, and a decision was rendered from there, which all of council has to make a decision on that from the information that.
In your opinion, were each one of the two that made the bids, were they given a fair chance to bid equally?
Yes.
Okay.
And what I would just mention, I know we spoke about this at length. The two major differences are the cost, the final cost, $72,000 for the COG, $80,000 for the tax office. But within that tax office proposal, there is a part-time employee. It was a full-time, but now it's a part-time employee, so that would add another part-time employee to the municipality, which I think council should consider that as far as long-term costs, healthcare costs potentially, pension costs, and the costs associated with that. So I think those are the two major differences. One thing to consider also is that if the COG is off on their estimates on what they charged us, that goes back on the COG, and that's their problem. If the tax office were to be off on their estimates, that would still fall back on the taxpayers and our departments as well. So,
Okay.
Can I also mention, you asked a question, Mr. Duncan, and I'd like to answer it.
Okay.
You questioned, why is the big hurry? Well, one of the biggest things is the software to update all of the parcels, all of the billing, and that's going to take months to get done with the information that has to be given to put the billing together so that it can go out in the timely fashion that we have the timeline set for.
Mr. Duncan,
So we can't wait another month.
Yes, I do. I didn't think that another month would make that big of a deal, because we're not under a time restraint, per se. But when you did say about a part-time employee, there are no benefits for a part-time employee.
there aren't, but I mean,
But was that
potentially
your
down the
bid
road.
with the part-time employee at the $80,000? is my question? Because I'm a little confused.
It's on the
here.
spreadsheet, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's also in there, in that building, there's 2 buildings.
I mean, we just hired a part-time.
Yeah, but I don't know how many
employee.
buildings are in the other one. How many did they ask for?
Yeah, I seen that.
2.
2 billings,
Yeah,
and you
so that
both,
we
you
did-
both had 2 billings
Yeah.
at $12,000.
Yeah.
So anyhow, back to my original tabling offer. I'm sure I won't have support for it, but I'd like to table this.
So you're making a motion to table?
To table and allow both entities resubmit.
Wait, can we do that when
With
there's
the
already
same
been a
information.
motion? and-
There's a motion to table.
No,
Is there a second to table?
Wait a minute.
No, but there was a motion to approve and a second.
Yeah, but if somebody makes a motion to table, it can take precedence.
Okay. That's
But
what I'm
there's a
trying to
motion
figure
to
out.
table. Is there a second to table? Seeing none, that motion dies.
That motion dies.
Now you have a motion.
There is a motion to approve and a second. I will give council one more moment if there's any other comments. So there's a motion to approve
By Mr. Harvey.
by Mr. Harvey. A motion to appoint the pollution control and flood reduction billing entity as the Turtle Creek Valley COG. An affirmative vote is to vote for the Turtle Creek Valley COG. So roll call, Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Ursinko?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Nothing against COG, but no.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Mr. Little, next item.
Okay, the last motion is a motion to approve a full-page advertisement for the Bands of Gateway High School PIMBA Marching Band Competition Program Book in the amount of $75.
Motion approved.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
Second, yes.
Motion is second. Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Ursinko?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Moving over to our resolutions. Mr. Little.
Okay, the first resolution is a resolution approving the transfer of Eating Place liquor license number E 1832 in the municipality of Monroeville for Sheets Incorporated at 2100 Moss Side Boulevard.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and this was a public hearing at our Thursday meeting. Any other comments, council? Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Ursinko?
No.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Mr. Little, the second resolution.
Okay, a
please.
resolution approving the disposition of records as set forth in the municipal records manual.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any comments? Seeing none, roll call, Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Ursinko?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Okay, a resolution adopting the Evergreen Apartment Sewage Planning Module.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Any comments, council? Seeing none, roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Ursinko?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Moving over to our ordinances, we have one this evening. Mr. Ratcher, please.
This is an ordinance amending the code of the municipality of Monroeville and ordinance numbers 2361, 2416, 2520, 2533, 2574, 2598, 2610, and 2657 by amending and restating the rules and regulations of the Police Civil Service Commission.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Any comments? Seeing none, roll call. Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Ursinko?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Moving over to reports of our municipal staff. Mr. Ratcher, will leave the floor open for you.
I have one item. At last month's meeting, I believe Mr. Wilson asked me about fireworks and the new fireworks law. Is that correct, Tom?
Yes.
Okay, well, I did some investigation, and there is a new fireworks law. And there is a provision in the law that says, we were wondering about the ability of our local police to enforce it. Section 2415 says the Pennsylvania State Police, a sheriff or police officer, shall take, remove, or cause to be removed at the expense of the owner all stocks of consumer fireworks or display fireworks or combustibles offered or exposed for sale, stored, or held in violation of this article. The owner shall also be responsible for the storage and, if deemed necessary, the destruction of these fireworks. I believe that that provision of the new fireworks law gives our local police both the right to enforce this and also to seize the fireworks if they find somebody using them in violation of the Fireworks Act. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow up with Chief Cole and see what we have on the books already. We may want to adopt this by reference or make sure that we have, we don't have any ordinances that conflict with it.
I got nervous for a minute when you said fireworks. Uh-oh. I didn't realize it's residential stuff you're talking about. I got it.
Well, it also regulates the big ones, but the big ones are more, the people that do the big ones are licensed, so it's not as much of a problem.
Those would be defined as display fireworks.
Correct.
That's why I love it.
And the display fireworks, we issue permits.
And JJ, you're specifically exempt.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then, Mr. Ratcher, are there setbacks as far as how far?
There are.
Should they refer to that as far as
There
how
are
far you
time
can be from someone's
restraints.
house?
Well,
Yeah, I think it's 150 feet from somebody's, 150 feet from an occupied structure.
It doesn't exist
And,
anywhere.
and
You're not allowed to throw them out of a car. You're not allowed to throw them from one property to another.
Common sense.
There-
how about
there's-
alcohol involved?
You're not allowed to drink or be on drugs when you're doing it.
It's all common sense.
So, yeah, so you believe that maybe we should have some kind of document as far as referencing?
Well, I want to see what we currently have on the books. We probably have a fireworks ordinance from years ago, and we just want to make sure that nothing's in conflict with this.
Right. 'Cause I think, well, the questions I receive, and I'm sure council members receive, as far as fireworks being set off in certain areas close to neighbors' homes. So I think the biggest probably component is probably the setback from occupied structure.
What's the time?
And then, and yes, good point, and the time as well, as far as the noise, so the setback, the time, and then the enforcement. So let's look and see what we have and what we can do. Very good. Do you have anything else for this evening,
That's
Mr.
all.
Ratcher?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ratcher.
And Mr. Little, I'll move over to you for your report this evening.
Yeah, the first thing is just a reminder, the Monroeville Jazz Festival is August 18th, which is this Saturday. Have a great lineup. Emmett Cohen, I mentioned on Thursday, is the headliner. And looking forward to a lot of food and a lot of entertainment up there. The second one is the Monroeville Foundation Golf Outing will be September 14th at Meadowink. We have some foursomes coming in and people sponsoring. So that looks like it's going to be a good time. And also Celebrate Healthy Monroeville Wellness Expo. And this is kind of a different take on Celebrate Monroeville that has been going on for maybe about 13, 14 years. It's going to be a healthy expo. And I have one other thing that is not on the agenda. We just received today, and council has at their stations, is the notice we get when we get for property from the land bank. And the land bank has for acquisition 451 Blackberry Drive here in Monroeville. Does council have any comments, or if they want to?
Now, that's your award, right, Ron?
Blackberry is mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just happy they're taking another property.
No,
on.
I have no-
It's a
Yeah.
very good thing.
Yeah, the land bank has been
Very
very
good.
successful.
Well, yeah,
Yes.
that's a great program.
Yes, it is.
And,
When are they gonna take that Forgy property?
That's on the list actually ahead of this one.
Hallelujah.
So I would say probably it will be sold in the fall here. It will go to a sheriff's sale in the fall.
It's down behind Carver.
McKinney Road.
McKinney Road. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
By Jimmy?
That concludes my report.
Before we move off to Tim's, you forgot to mention it's September 29th on the Celebrate.
Oh, okay, I'm
Healthy
sorry, the
Monroeville.
September 29th on the Celebrate Healthy Monroeville.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Very good. Nothing else, Mr. Little?
That's all.
Mr. Hugus, anything this evening?
No, sir.
Ms. Rock?
Nothing.
Very good. So I'm going to open up the floor for public comments on any municipal item.
One short question. We're talking about
Say your name for the record, sir.
Robert Serafini, Monroeville resident. Don't you laugh.
Gotta play by the rules.
Anyway, we were talking about the COG or Pat's going to use. Is there any time constraint on when you give this out to the COG? I mean, do we have a contract with them as far as like them not working out within a year, 2 years, something that
You mean how long it lasts?
Yeah,
Mr.
I mean,
Mr.
do we,
Serafini, to answer your question, yes, in here it says there is a notice of termination 6 months. So if we're not happy,
how about after that?
no, I mean, I believe it's written that
We
we
can-
can,
we
we can
can
quit at any time, giving them 6 months' notice.
Okay, that's, I just wanted to see
That's
if
a
it
good
was
question.
an indefinite thing or, you know, thank you.
No.
Any other comment for any municipal item? Seeing none, we'll close that portion of the meeting, and I'll move over to our reports of council members. Mrs. Gatos, we'll start with you this evening.
Thursday night, I didn't really get to talk about the senior center as, we had talked about the passing of Mary, and that was kind of very touching for the center, so I didn't feel right talking about them having a dinner there at that exact time, so I will tonight. The luncheon is Monday, August 27th at 12 o'clock. Your tickets have to be bought by Wednesday, August 22nd. They're going to have beef stroganoff and buttered noodles, green beans, dinner roll, dessert, and refreshments. And, of course, that's only $6, and you can't even get a decent hamburger for that. So it's always a great thing. But what's very exciting coming up is they have a member appreciation week. And every day they do something different for their members. And that is going to be the week of August 20th through the 24th. And like on Monday, they're going to have a free Dunkin' Donut and coffee. And then Tuesday is a free taco that's like, they call it a walking taco. They do it in a bag. Wednesday is a bag of popcorn. Thursday is, they're actually going to wash your windshield for you, the people that run the center. And Friday, they're going to have the ice truck there. It's just a great way to either get to know the center if you don't already know it, or to say thank you to everyone that does go there. So again, I can't say enough about this this place. And if you don't belong, please go over and check it out. And I think that's all I have.
Very good. Mr. Poach.
Just briefly, just again, Monroeville, celebrating Monroeville, and our community day was fantastic this past year, this past month. Enjoyed it a great deal. There all day, and a great opportunity to meet and talk to a lot of the folks across the community during the afternoon too. So that was terrific. I don't think of anything else for right now. I'll pass on to Mr. Harvey.
Very good. Mr. Harvey.
Yes, once again, I wanted to extend my condolences for those of you that didn't hear that Mrs. Macaluso passed away, who was the wife of the president of the senior center, and very wonderful people, and he lost his wife several days ago, so I just wanted to extend my condolences again. I was fortunate, and I wanted to try to put out this on a regular basis, although I don't know about the mall, but there's a new restaurant that opened in the mall in the district called Coast in Maine, and
It hasn't opened yet?
Tonight.
Tonight?
Tonight.
Because they were there today, but they wouldn't open up.
Tonight.
They wouldn't open for you, actually.
Oh, that's what it was.
But anyway,
I was there today.
look for the menus. Very good restaurant. I recommend that everybody goes down and try it, and give a welcome to one of our new businesses.
Very good.
And I said this last meeting, but I'll give it again. The MS4 committee really met for a very long time on a lot of very difficult subjects, and they presented, at the end of the day, they presented the plan to council on 2 occasions, and Mr. Hugus and the engineering department prepared a great informative PowerPoint, and they will be presenting a version of this to the public on September 6th. So if you have any questions or want to learn about the MS4 project, what it's going to do for our community, what it's going to cost, what it's going to accomplish, this is the meeting you want to attend, September 6th. That is for residents. There's a separate one for the highest top 20 businesses, and there's another one that's coming up for just the rest of the businesses in general. I just want to thank all the committee for a very, very long period of time and a lot of meetings putting this together and educating ourselves. Mr. Hugus and Jamie Story did a wonderful job educating us on most of this stuff, and I think it's very important that everybody attend that can. to watch the outlines of this meeting and the PowerPoint, and the permit will be coming up next month. And I think there's going to be a very, very good informative handout available to you at that time. So once again, September 6th, I encourage you so you can hopefully gain some of the knowledge to know what this MS4 thing is all about, and understand why we have to address it and how we have to take care of business. And it, believe it or not, is not all negative, because it is accomplishing things that need to be done that most municipalities, including ourselves, a little bit guilty, don't budget the proper money for to take care of the storm sewers, which is why you see flooding in areas, and then everybody comes up and says, hey, council, fix this. And there's no money to fix it because everybody wanted us to spend money on pavement. And so it's a big, giant financial circle, as it usually is, and it's a matter of obtaining the funds. And there is no way, unless there's a miracle worker around that I know of, that we can meet the requirements that the federal government handed down to the states, who ultimately handed it down to us and said, take care of your stormwater problem. And that's what we're doing. Please come and get educated on it. That's all.
Thank you. Mr. Johns.
Yeah, just briefly, I'd like to once again remind everybody, school's about to start. Slow down a little bit. And then one other thing, I mentioned it on Thursday, especially in my neighborhood. In most neighborhoods, they have these, it's like a little metal thing that comes up with a red sign on the top of it that says stop. Try doing that, not slow down. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Johns.
Sorry.
Mr. Arasinko.
Real quick, I just, as everybody recalls, last Thursday, I talked about the issues with the banks and lending institutions when they take over the property that they don't really maintain. You know, we have a meeting coming up with the Allegheny County Boroughs Association early September. We're going to be able to give you an update on where that is in Harrisburg. Also on the House Resolution 291, where they're trying to take our local tax off of our Keystone, which has been really good. And then the other issue I forgot to mention on Thursday was there's 16 different bills in front of the House and Senate to address the volunteer fire issue that, as everybody knows, in our state, the numbers are going down. Hopefully, we'll be able to get some of those through where, in all the bills that are being proposed, is to give incentives to these young men and women to volunteer at our fire department. So hopefully, I'll be able to give you a good report next month after our meeting. And that's all I have, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Duncan.
Yeah, I'd just like to commend Public Works on the amazing job they're doing with the patching and staying ahead of the sealing crew. I mean, these guys are putting down tonnage that's unheard of. Reminds me of the old days. And they have such a limited crew, such a limited manpower. They're doing a heck of a job, and I just want to commend them, and I think they're doing a great job.
Absolutely.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan. Mr.
I don't have anything tonight. Thank you, sir.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Yes, Council, just one thing I want to bring up right off the bat. We were speaking about the land bank a few moments ago and blighted properties. And one thing I just wanted to bring to your attention for consideration is something that has been done in the borough of Tarentum recently, where they have started a registration process for their vacant buildings. So what this is that any kind of vacant home, abandoned home, vacant business, they would have to register for a permit for that building, and it would be issued if they passed all the local ordinances, all the codes, and everything to that effect. I think it's a tool that we could use to work on this problem that I think we all, I'm sure everybody up here and probably everyone out there knows of some properties near their home that maybe have not been lived in for quite some time, that are run down. Maybe this is another tool to combat some of that. In no way is this to go against like the snowbird homes, people that leave for several months to go to Florida. It's really about abandoned homes that really no one's living in. So what I'm looking for is if some direction, maybe from Mr. Little, if council is okay with this, to maybe just explore if this is something that perhaps we could do, and if it's worth doing.
We worked through Mr. Hughes on that.
Yes.
We worked through Mr. Hughes.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, absolutely. Work through Mr. Little, Mr. Hughes' department to see if it's something that's feasible. Like I said, this other community has done it. They've done a lot of work into it. There may be some things that would work for us, maybe some things that wouldn't work. So we could just maybe look into that and discuss this further at a later date.
Wilkins has actually adopted an ordinance very
Wilkins
much
as
like
well?
that one. Yeah, yeah.
Very good.
Mayor, I forgot, may I?
Sure, Mr.
say
Wilson.
something? I've been thinking about this for a while, and I finally remembered. But in the past, with the school board, when we left the school board, we received a plaque for the service that was rendered by the individual. And I'd like to suggest to council that we recognize the council people as, when they're finished with their terms, that we recognize them with the plaque and for their dedication and for their service to the community.
It's not a bad suggestion. No one's leaving anytime soon, are they? I mean,
Now, well, I was thinking of Mr. Caleri that we haven't recognized. We recognized him when he left, but there's still some, I think it would be a nice gesture to recognize Mr. Caleri at that point.
well, something for council if they want maybe Mr. Little to look into doing such a thing, and maybe if you could get some costs, and then we would discuss that publicly.
Yeah, well, I think it's about $10, so,
Oh, jeez.
Plaque got to be more than that.
yeah.
Good suggestion.
Well, if you want to take it to the top, you can do $100.
Just want me to look into the cost?
Please.
Please,
Look into our options, yes.
yeah,
Okay.
please.
Very
Make
good.
a motion next.
And then one thing, getting back to this item I
Mayor,
just mentioned.
One more thing, excuse me, Mr. Little, do the full page, will you please?
Yes, it is.
We got the full
know
page,
that. We know, when Dara asked me about this, I said, just do the full page.
Go ahead, Nick.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes, sir.
anything else?
I'm done,
Are you
thanks.
sure?
Sorry, yes.
I'll give you another opportunity if you need
I'm
one,
done.
okay?
I'm
Very good.
finished.
No problem at all. No problem at all.
I won't say another word.
No,
I promise.
But one thing I do want to mention about this program, real quick, it was brought to my attention by one of our code enforcers, Jason Sonnefeld. Actually, him and I were having an off the clock, after hours, just conversation about some properties in Monroeville, and he just kind of mentioned to me that he read this article somewhere. So I just want to give just a little tip of the hat to him as far as someone that's looking how to do things in their department, and just give him a little bit of credit as we explore this option for the community.
Thank you,
Just for
Jason.
FYI for everybody here and in the audience, it's about a year old, but if you remember that, I believe the COG put out, or maybe the land bank itself, we have about 50 homes that could actually, in Monroeville, be taken down.
Right. And this may be a tool to be a little more aggressive with those homes as well.
Yeah.
Very good. Moving on, our Bike and Pedestrian Committee, we do have a survey for our active Allegheny plan. So please go on the municipal website, monroeville.pa.us, fill out the online survey about your walking habits, your bicycling habits, your active habits, and public transit as well. And we're trying to find ways to see what we need to do, how we can do things better, and what we can provide. So please fill that online by the end of the month. If you don't have access to a computer, you can go to our library, and they can certainly help you out to get online and fill out the survey. I want to commend the Community Day folks earlier today for Forbes and the Monroeville Foundation, everyone involved. It was a great event. Also, Christian Fike and the Rivertown Poorhouse for their event last weekend, their Rivertown Rhythm and Brews. It was a very well-attended event by a wide range of ages and in all walks of life, and it was a lot of fun and a good event. A tip of the hat to them for providing that program and that full day of music and entertainment. And we have our Jazz Festival this weekend. So 3 great events in our community park. And It's one of the great reasons, one of the reasons that Monroeville is a great place to live, and we look forward to all those events. And lastly, I want to wish a very happy birthday to my wife, Tara, whose birthday is this week. And with that, I will seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you and good night.